Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dropped Frames Co. What episode are we on?
Today is 2815.
2815. Thank you very much, Co.
Yep. 1 second. This ice dragon ain't gonna kill itself.
Okay. All right. You handle Legiana. We'll deal with the show.
Thanks.
Welcome, everyone. Zeke's currently in San Francisco. So if you're wondering why he doesn't have a green screen or what office he's what is that red thing behind you? Is that a PC? What is that?
That is a PC.
Looks like a tower.
Yeah.
It is a tower, yep.
Okay. So Twitch gave
indeed.
you another room. They're saving the day.
They gave me the same room, but this time, because the room I was in last night for Court of Swords, I was close to the door, so people were walking back and forth.
Right.
Now, I'm like right by the wall.
Oh, nice.
So no one's going to walk behind me.
Fantastic.
I like how it's like no green screens over here.
Yeah.
Green screens.
Yeah.
Actually, the opposite direction. Green screens.
Yeah, sorry, your camera's inverted. But I might invert it back.
Is this when we both pick sides and we break out into songs for our respective games?
Yeah, we gotta start snapping.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we gotta do
Got the beat. Okay,
snap
awesome.
fight. Exactly. Yeah. Joining us also, our guest this week is Maximilian. Dude, Max, how much sleep have you had? Because I know you were up late.
I've had enough, but not enough. So almost to the point of which it's a health problem. So we'll find out going forward how much of a problem it really ends up being.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll deal with that. Well, I guess we'll start off with some Monster Hunter talk. I'm really confused with this game, but go ahead, Zeke. What's up?
This is your second time on the show, right, Max?
Third, isn't it?
It's either second or third. I can't remember if the first time we were talking about Street Fighter.
We did Street Fighter, and then we did Resident Evil. So this is third.
Yeah, okay, that was definitely the
Okay,
Resident Evil one. So it's like a one a year, some big crazy thing happens.
Yeah. Ironically, I wanted to bring you on the show to talk about Dragon Ball, but we're probably just gonna talk a lot about Monster Hunter as well.
You know what? Yeah, it is a story of my life right now. Both those games came out on the same day, and it hurts. It absolutely is like the worst thing. Funny thing is that in Japan, like, you know, Dragon Ball, where it was created,
Yeah.
and where a lot of its fan base is, got delayed like multiple days. I think it came out yesterday, because they don't want to compete with Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter was coming around the same time, and they're like, well, Monster Hunter in Japan's effing crazy, so we're just gonna delay Dragon Ball in Japan 3 days to not compete with Monster Hunter. So that's kind of nuts.
Yeah, I think I saw today that just in Japan alone, that it was like 1.7 million copies sold and approaching 2 million, including digital copies of Monster Hunter in Japan alone.
Wow, if that didn't include digital, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's probably really good.
Let's see if I could pull up the. Sorry, that was incorrect.
Even the other ones were like around 1.5 or something like that.
1.35 million the first 3 days in Japan, predicted to be over 2 million with digital sales. Jamatsu.com.
If there's also digital in there, yeah, that's a jeez. If it's over 2 million, that's actually awesome. I don't even know if a Monster Hunter game has had debuted in more than that.
Yeah, I think it's breaking records for the franchise for sure across the board. The goal today, I told Zeke, by the way, before you guys were here, I told Zeke that after the show today, he's probably going to be playing Monster Hunter offline. And the way
Zeke,
I told him,
have you played it at all yet?
He hasn't, but he's a Destiny fan, and I told him that it's basically Destiny without guns, and if they actually had progression.
I can't say much about that comparison, but because I haven't played Destiny, but I've never played a Monster Hunter game.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Like it all. I understand. I get it now. I can see everything. I know what everyone's been talking about.
Now that
I think
feeling I understand because of Persona, because I never played a Persona until the most recent one, and I went, what have I been missing?
Yeah.
There,
what were you
there
saying?
is an important distinction, though. Like, I kind of see where you're coming through with the Destiny comparison, but it is important to mention, though, that Monster Hunter, unlike Destiny, is a good game. So it's kind of hard.
I knew you were going to say something snarky.
Yeah.
Like he's getting serious. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the
thing. No, like okay, I see. It's hard. It's hard to say this is like Destiny, because I feel like Destiny is like progression light, where Monster Hunter is like actual progression.
Well,
I don't.
Here's the other thing too. I was trying to relate it to Zeke. It's maybe not the best comparison, but Zeke was a diehard Destiny fan for Destiny 1. So if I can kind of get that in his brain and see if he'll be interested in Monster Hunter, he might jump into it.
What I would actually say is it's kind of like if you were to take Destiny and then attach it to a Dark Souls-esque combat system. So it's like a progression-based game, but it has a third-person action combat. That's in my opinion, like much more engaging than Destiny's gameplay. Like not even comparable in terms of like my personal preferences. Like there's one thing about, you know, pointing your mouse at a flashing thing and holding it down for 30 minutes to 2 minutes, and then dodging around and getting in a big fight and seeing these massive monsters and having them all have unique moves, and you know, like it's night and day.
So an MMO-like game,
love Monster Hunter, to be honest.
An MMO-like game without aiming down a gun, like FPS.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no
pretty
aiming.
good. Sounds pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, there's aiming. Like you get arrows and stuff. There's classes that have guns and shots, but for the most part, it's like you have to aim at body parts. And the most satisfying thing, you can tell it's a Capcom game, and it's made by people who have done combat and like fighting games like their entire career. Because you feel all that shit, like all that stuff throughout all the game is like caked into every single moment.
Yeah.
So when you're like running around and you want to see like, well, what is this? What you can kind of look at a monster, and if you know what to look for, you can kind of get an idea what stage it's at, because all the monsters have multiple stages. By looking at the damage on its head, the damage on its body, is it limping, like anything like that? Like I keep using this example where I feel your character and the weapons you use are so unique in the game that they feel like their own fighting game characters, as this is related to we've been talking about Dragon Ball 2. And then the monsters are like the matchups. You have to learn how to get good at the monsters. It's just like it's so similar in many ways to what you go through in a Souls game, but in this one it's honestly been refined after like 15 years of them making Monster Hunter games.
I've been trying, like I was thinking about it this morning, trying to figure out exactly why. I'm going to say the following. On yesterday, or maybe it was Monday, I ended Monday, the day in general, as I was going to sleep, and I had 57 hours in the game. It launched on Friday, just for people to do the math on that. Now, the game it's the multiplayer is Japan as possible. It's awful. It takes way too long to get into shit. The gameplay is pretty much the same combos for the most part, over and over and over. The graphics are better than Monster Hunter in general, but they're still, you know, it's 30 to 50 FPS. But I was playing this game for like 13, 14 hours a day, and I don't know why I was so fucking addicted to it and I want to go back and play more, and I don't know what that specific reason is.
And are you even playing online with people, JP?
Yes and no. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It just depends on what I'm doing in the game.
I've been in situations where I've been playing with like actual like local LAN where we just all bring our PlayStations in and just completely play together. And those experiences have been crazy. And we're actually crazy in the beta as well. And I was playing a lot of it offline and really enjoying it too. I think it really all boils down to they have crafted a formula in this game of progression that is insanely addictive. Between not only just progressing as your character, because you don't get experience in this game. You don't like level up or anything like that. You just get new armor that enhances your stats, like your specific stats, like between critical hits or anything like that, maybe a little bit more health. And then you get progressively new mechanics introduced to you throughout the entire like 20-hour-ish campaign. It took me like 40 hours because I was doing optional stuff and hanging out. And during that entire time, I never wanted to stop. I was just like, I have to keep going. I have to keep going.
Well,
what else am I going to do?
To clarify, what are you considering the end of the campaign after?
Base campaign.
Okay, low tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, low. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Low. Dude? My revelation upon discovering that last night was just, we're just starting. What? Like.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, Ko, if you haven't actually beaten like the last boss, and you'll know it's the last boss of your style of campaign, get ready. Like, that's when the game actually starts. And that blew my mind because I was farming armor. and doing all this stuff. Then I immediately found out all my armor is trash.
Yes.
It's all trash now.
Yeah, it's
like, because
pointless.
the game actually begins. I was just like,
it's pointless to have. Yes.
So hold on, just so we're on the same page here. We're talking about like without spoiler. I guess you can't really spoil
It's
this.
not really
even
spoilers. Yeah.
There's like introductory, look at this awesome big guy level, and then there's like a second, like let's go get him level. That's
and then
literally
there's
the
a
mission
moment
I'm on.
after.
Yeah.
There's a
Like
moment after
tomorrow
where
morning.
it's not over.
Basically, what happens,
Yeah.
Co, is you know how there's normal dungeons and heroic dungeons in World of Warcraft? You're on normal right now. And then you're going to go to heroic, aka high tier, and you start to see variations of the monsters, like a pink Rathian.
They do different moves.
They do different move sets. They have different stats. You start to see bigger monsters. You start to see...
And the story keeps going too,
the story
apparently,
keeps
right,
going.
JP?
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm at the very last three monsters, basically. And I feel like the difficulty ramp up from there's two different ramp ups. There's low tier into high tier, and then there's high tier into Elder Dragons. And like high tier to Elder Dragons feels like Monster Hunter of old for me, because I played Try You, and that game felt significantly more difficult than this in some aspects of it. But some of those, like this fight right here, the Narragante fight, which is before Elder Dragons, was super fucking challenging. It's the only boss I died twice on this, and I got carded 6 total times on this shit.
Wow. That's a good fight. When I was going through and I got to this part of the game where you get to high rank, I had 50 hours in the game, and I was collecting gear and weapons like crazy. The weapons actually mattered, but the gear didn't, because you're introduced to the monsters again and you get new materials.
Yes.
So if you killed like a Jagras, you're now going to be getting Jagras material plus to make a completely new, or not completely new, brand new statted Jagras armor. So at the end of it, you could have killed Rathalos and Rathians and been decked out in their gear, but at the beginning of high tier, basic bitch Jagras armor is all better.
And the crazy
actually
part
has better
is,
stats.
The crazy part too is there's 2 different sets of gear that you can craft. There's alpha and there's beta. The alpha has 2 stats on it. The beta version of gear has 1 stat and then a gem slot, because gems start dropping, so you can start customizing your gear even more if you want to. And both
part
of those
where it was
have different
introducing,
looks.
the part where it started introducing gems again, or introducing gems like a new mechanic, and I'm like, dude, I'm 50 hours into this game and it's still teaching me stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
I had a tutorial yesterday at like 50 hours in.
Yeah. Like, it's just like this game wants to be played for 500 hours.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean, if people are worried about content, like I don't even know. And apparently like a bunch of the future stuff for the game is going to be mostly free.
Yes.
Which is even
they've said
crazier to
that
me.
All future DLC, like new mobs and stuff to fight, is all free, which is great.
So wait, on this new armor you guys are talking about, does it have the old look, or does it all have new looks?
New looks
too?
as well.
Some of them have new looks.
Yeah, some of them. That's true. And there's also...
Man, I literally spent like all morning and just now like farming up my ice set, and I got my big ice switch axe, and
But
it's
that's
all
good.
awesome. And you're telling me like
No, that's
tomorrow
good.
morning I'm doing that last big mission. So
That's actually for the weapons. It's good.
Yes.
okay.
Also...
The armor, you'll be fighting those monsters again, and they're going to be the new versions. You're going to be getting new armor. Like I was a bit overwhelmed at that point, because I'm like, I spent so much time, you motherfucker! Like, guy, you telling me this is all bad now? And then I immediately realized that you don't have the limitations you had on the first playthrough.
Yeah.
You don't have like the assigned like structure anymore. There is story stuff, and it does get assigned, but you can still revisit any of the areas. But now all the areas, when you're in high tier, when you revisit, are all like the monsters are crazy now, so they're even more buff.
They're cool.
And more chances of like rare things to have. Like there's a guy named Basil Juice that just randomly shows up, and he's a fucking asshole. He literally drops bombs.
I've never seen that.
He drops bombs on you, and there's like artillery and shit basically occurring. He's just a giant fucking dragon that will randomly spawn in and start destroying you. I haven't killed him yet. That stuff happens. There's color variation, so like pink Rathian. There's a black Diabolos, which is a stronger Diabolos. There's like an Azure Rathian or Rathalos or something like that. Just basically different color variations, and they're just stronger and do more damage, basically.
One big motivator, is that when you go through the second time, you get to change the color of gear. So if you don't like
armor
some
pigments,
aspect of the Jagras gear, you can actually change the color. The base skin part, like if the monster had scales or the Jagras has skin that you wear, that's going to be like green no matter what, or going to be the color of the monster. But any of the under armor, any of the other gear, you can change its the headpiece, the body piece, the arms, the legs, everything. You can change it all individually.
Awesome. Yeah, that's if you let's see. If I can get a front shot of basically the armor that I'm wearing is dyed white, and I have a skull mask that basically is just like a bone skull, and it's dyed white as well. So you can really start to like actually customize your character and make him look pretty cool. I will also say the mission that you're about to do, Ko, is really good to farm because you don't have to actually do anything, and you can just run around and collect ore and kind of ignore the mission aspect of it. And once you do it a couple times, you'll learn the ore rotation because it'll respawn halfway through the map. And that gear is really, really good to get to go into high tier. It's got really high defense, and it's got pretty good stats on it as well. So
great.
Yeah.
I will keep that in mind. I'm already looking forward to it tomorrow. What's funny is before we had this talk and everything, I was very confused because I thought the whole game revolved around just that guy. And so I ended the stream this morning and they're like, yeah, cool. We got our plan now and we're going to go kill him and everything's great. And I was just like,
it's over.
But I've only been playing like 15 hours. Like, no. But yeah, this is really good to hear. So that's excellent.
There's a ton of stuff. Like even the Palicos, is that what they're called? I call them
Palicos.
Yeah, my Palico's named is Chat, so it's always Chat. Like Chat is in the game with me and heals me. I yell at them when they don't heal me, etc. But even the Palicos have like in high tier, there's certain quests to get them a mount. They will ride a little mount that'll randomly join you, which is fucking sick. They learn
how to talk to the other animals. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They've got like different paths. So right now mine plays musical instruments and like buffs me instead of doing the healing stuff. There's also one that I haven't unlocked, but you can get pretty early where it'll actually steal from the mob. It'll steal rare drops from the mob as you're fighting it, which is really nice to get. But yeah, Chat right now just plays bongos for me and buffs my defense and attack and stuff like that. While sometimes
so basically kind of like a normal Twitch stream.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It's great. But yeah, I still want to jump back. I don't know exactly why though. That I can't figure out the why. Besides, I'm just addicted to the grind because I haven't had a grind like this in a long time. But
you know what, JP? I want to ask you: is it because you just really have fun playing the game?
Yes, but I'm bitching about a lot of stuff at the same time. Like the mission you're about to do, I think is fucking abysmal. I think it's like a terrible mission, and I think it's those two things: the beginning Zora mission and the one that you're about to do are like the worst missions in the game.
I actually had a lot of trouble with my first mission.
It's the weakest part in the game.
Yeah.
When I did my first Zora mission, I actually didn't realize what I was doing on the second portion of it, and I got lost.
Yeah.
And I kept falling off it. And then when I finally realized where I was, like I'm literally running up around the side of a hill, and I've been looking for this thing for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, there it is! And then all of a sudden, the entire level just goes like this.
Tilting.
And they're like, he's standing up. I'm like, oh God, no, he's not.
Yeah.
Like, no, sit back down. I mean, it was, oh my Lord. Yeah, it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. So, well, I've kind of figured this mission would be the same. I mean, they're almost like glorified cutscenes in a lot largely. There's not like, I mean, I don't know about the second one. The first one was just with that little fight at the end.
The second one's the exact same thing.
It's largely like, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but like those two missions specifically feel so different. Like I'm loading cannons and running around and like just traversing and smacking giant rocks. Like it is completely different than all the stuff you have learned throughout the game. And it's so bizarre. And I actually enjoyed the first one a lot when we were with friends because I was like, oh dude, we're blowing shit up and this is actually really fun. And oh, the sage is moving, it's crumbling, and having fun. And then the second mission is, well, it is what it is, JP. And I was like, oh God, I have no idea what's going on. Like, oh man, this is so weird.
To speak,
well, that's fine.
I think I know what you're saying. It's fun the first time. It's fun when you've never seen it before and you're encountering it all for the first time. I was the same way as you, Mac. I thought it was really cool the first time. Like, oh, you put the cannon. Oh, I hit that thing. Oh, look, it's moving towards there. Like, I was exactly the same way. But then
it's got a cool big
moment.
like,
do it again or something. You're just kind of like,
but you wish that it wouldn't have been great if you went inside its body, you fought like other unique Zora monsters or something like that. If
well, they gotta save something for the end game.
We're just seeing like
I want to fight his stomach,
exactly.
His stomach and his lungs.
We're seeing like the outer shell, and if you get in there, there's the actual monster piloting the big thing, like or something like that. Like, but no, it was just
keep playing the game, Max.
Like a Lost Planet 2 boss.
Yeah, just keep playing the game. You'll get there eventually. Like, some of that stuff that you just said may or may not happen. So, I think it does a good job of fulfilling that. But like those 2 missions are so abstract and feel like a completely different game.
Yeah.
From the rest.
I will have to say, from what I've been playing so far, and the thing that's kept me in the most is the world is so well realized. It's probably one of Capcom's best games in that aspect. Like, everything about the world is so convincing. It feels like a real world. It's like one of my favorite things about Bloodborne. As you go through this place, like every character is like jovial about their existence to hunt monsters, and everyone's super upbeat. The cats love cooking stuff for you. Every single like aspect of the gear you make, the when you run around like the ancient forest or the levels, it feels like a living, breathing thing, and that is like it's a rare thing in games now, and I think that's what keeps bringing me back, especially on like an aesthetical, like just purely aesthetics, is like, dude, this whole thing is just like it feels living and breathing. Oh, so much to the point, I just want new stages. I just want levels to run around because. Yeah. Just going on expeditions and running around is so much fun.
Not to interrupt, can we get some of Maximilian's videos?
Yeah.
And dude, Max, it's really funny that you say that because we were actually having a discussion about that exact thing in comparing the game to Dauntless, and about how Monster Hunter right now really feels like an actual world. Like you're not going.
Yeah, like Dauntless was like, here's some fights and you challenge them with your friends and this is how it works, right? But it's like largely like a simple game. I didn't play it, but I've only seen it.
Well, and that's like, I actually played like double-digit hours of Dauntless, and I actually played, interestingly enough, I played Dauntless before I played this game, and I'd never played a Monster Hunter game before. So my first Monster Hunter experience was Dauntless. And I honestly was like, this seems kind of cool, and I see why people like it, but it didn't really sell me on the whole Monster Hunter thing. Like I was kind of like, this gets kind of repetitive. This world is a little bit basic. You know, these fights feel kind of the same, even though they're different monsters. So what was weird is I kind of got that impression about the franchise. So when Monster Hunter World came out, I was like, okay, people are telling me this is a lot better, and I'm going to try it for sure, but I hope I like it more than Dauntless. Now that I played Monster Hunter World, I mean, it's the kind of thing where I fully understand what everyone in chat was telling me, where they're like, dude, just wait for the real one. Just like this is like Monster Hunter like 0.01 compared to what Monster Hunter actually is. And now that I've seen the world, the fact that you can run around the city and everything looks lived in, the fact that every area is like meticulously designed by environmental artists, like the forge and the canteen and everything. The fact that every level has verticality, and a lot of that verticality is very creative. And sometimes connections, you can walk by an area 5 times before you notice a little tiny tunnel that you can go through to a whole new area that you didn't even know existed. Yeah. And it's just, there's so much more.
The grappling hook too. Like, I love it. Like so many, the mobility options you get in the game, like that stuff is really like, and you start discovering that same stuff that you're talking about, Ko. Like as you go through it, you start discovering more things you can do with your weapons. You can now sliding attacks and jumping attacks, and like plunging attacks, and then mounting things. That's outside of the base combos and learning the tiny intricacies of the weapons themselves, which is like the very fighting game aspect. You're like, oh, this guy has weak armor over here, but if I use a hammer, I can knock off his horn, and all of a sudden he loses his attack. Like he just straight can't do it anymore. Cut off tails of monsters and they lose their tail attacks, and it's like everyone focus on the tail at first because that stuff is huge.
And what's even like on that same note, like wings on dragons. Like I'm playing this game solo. I haven't played with a single other person yet. So for me, it adds this kind of different level of, I need to make sure that I'm actually able to damage the enemy. So when I go up against a flying enemy, I only have my switch axe. So I have to actually focus the wings down. So it's like, I need to keep this guy in the ground. I got to bring blinder things. So he can't charge me from the sky. Like all these weird tactics just to make it so I can actually do damage versus him. By the way, also real quick to add to chat, we all understand that Dauntless is super new and it's also free to play. So when we compare this to Dauntless, it's not like, oh, this game is so much better than Dauntless. Dauntless is in a larval stage, as someone said in chat. It's got a long way to go, and everyone knows it. Oh, yeah. So it could be great one day. It's just a direct comparison right now is what we're talking about.
Which is rough.
Well, there's even a direct comparison between this and the older Monster Hunters. Like, how many of you guys have actually even like played a bit or a lot of older Monster Hunter? Just like the base Monster Hunter.
I played like 60 hours-ish of Try You and Try. Back on the...
And that was the Wii version, right?
The Wii and then the Wii U, I think. Yeah.
Gotcha. So is there, like, between your experience there and your experience here, like a huge difference in terms of like progression and everything?
No, it's basically the same formula that they used back then. I think you kind of nailed it when you said that they've had so many years to kind of work on the handheld versions of the game that being the first big console release where it's on multi-platforms with Xbox and PlayStation, they've had a lot of time to refine the Monster Hunter experience, and I think that's a good way of kind of saying it, because there's really not too much different in here. There's honestly different elements from different games, because I think it was Monster Hunter Generations. There's certain things that were pulled from that game that weren't in other Monster Hunters that are in this, so it's kind of a culmination of everything from what I've been told. Because I've only played, like I said, Try You and normal tries. So, yeah, I don't know. The other thing, Co, you were talking about, the thing that I kind of like about Monster Hunter is that it's not just your weapon sometimes. And it takes a long time for the game to really teach you that. You can do like, hey, this guy's flying, so I'm going to throw a flash bomb at his eyes so he falls down and stops. And now I can actually fight him. Or, the idea of capturing... I feel like they introduced that so late in the game. In other Monster Hunters, it was like 1 or 2 fights. I think Adam was saying this yesterday. It's like 1 or 2 fights, and then you can capture the mob. This one, it's like, I don't even know how many monsters you hunt until they're like, hey, by the way, you can capture stuff. And it's actually really beneficial to do that.
And you can skip like the last phase of fights by capturing.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
It's actually an optional quest.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize that you could capture enemies until someone was like, "Is Code on the optional capture quest yet?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like on 4-star at that point, and I had to go to the guy and get the optional, I think 1 or 2-star quest.
Yeah.
Just to learn how to capture. And I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know you could do this."
And then
I could have gone through.
So people were telling me that because I was spending a lot of time in the optional stuff, and people were telling me like a lot of the base mechanics of the game are actually only in optional quests, which is. So there's even more stuff I might have missed amongst the optional quests I did not do on the first run.
Should honestly be mandatory, because not only do you get things like capturing, when you capture a mob, it'll unlock the special arena fights for them. They'll also give you extra like botanical boxes, basically, to be able to farm more like honey or herbs or whatever. Because I think that goes up to 4 boxes if you do all the optional stuff for it. There's missions throughout the maps if you go to expeditions that'll like there's one fight in particular that I think doesn't spawn until you basically find something in one of the maps. So it just kind of weird triggers that the game doesn't really tell you about. So it kind of rewards exploration in that sense, which is pretty cool.
You get one of those moments of like exploration, like the combat exploration and understanding your environment, because there's 3 big aspects to fighting the monster. There's your own personal skill, there's your weapon, there's your armor, and then there's the environment around you and how you have to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And when you first come across that Palumu level where you fight the lasagna blue dragon, I keep forgetting his name.
Legiana.
Legend of Legaia dragon.
Yeah.
If you have a glider mantle on that level, which they give you, you can ride all of the shooting air pockets in the level with the glider mantle. And as long as you have it equipped, it just shoots you up. So there's a moment where you're getting to the part where Lagania, or whatever the heck his name is at the top. Yeah. And you could ride a gust of wind all the way up the entire map and just float right up into where he's sleeping. Yep. And where he's sleeping has small gusts as well. So when you're running around the map, I didn't even realize it. All of a sudden I started floating around and I was like, whoa. And then I could easily do plunging attacks with big weapons because I had the glider mantle on. I'm like, this is so sick.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. Like, and then no one else had glider mantles, so I was the only one floating around.
The mantles are really fucking strong. The vitality mantle basically puts like a shield on you, so you can take, I don't know, 4 or 5 hits. And that's saved my ass so many times in some of the late fights when like a mob they'll enrage and I'm just like, oh god, and just immediately put it on and start spamming potions because I'm gonna die.
And even the very first one you get, just immediate invisibility.
Yeah,
like, it's like a complete get out of jail free card. When you're single player, it's amazing because the monster you're fighting just stops what it's doing and starts looking around. Like, oh, where'd he go?
You triggered me, Co, because the worst part of Monster Hunter across the board is delivery missions. Have you guys done delivery missions yet?
Oh,
they've always been bad. It's always been a fucking complete shit show. But that
you're talking about egg quests,
yes,
right?
but that mantle that Co just mentioned makes them so much better because you just pop it, pick up the egg, and then you just walk back, and nothing will fucking bother you.
Why is my egg walking away?
Yeah,
I'm just a stupid monster.
Even the fucking monsters will follow you, and they're just like,
why is this happening? There's no one for me to kill.
It's moving, but there's nothing. Okay, all right, sure, whatever. So it makes those missions so much more enjoyable. Except for the fact you have to wait
I think
for them.
the big thing that makes them really enjoyable is once you jump online with like friends or something like that, like a few people that are kind of looking forward to the game, that the game becomes really special because you knock down a monster. Like when one of your other teammates or you is like fighting a monster and then you guys collectively rip off its tail and it reels back and it stumbles on the ground and then hits the ground and reveals its face, like its facial weak spot.
Yeah.
And then you and your 4 friends are just going fucking crazy on this thing, just like ripping it apart. You see pieces of it flying everywhere. It's screaming and then it runs away. Dude, I love it.
Or alternatively,
explosions are going on, fireworks. Like you hear all this like, I don't even know what's going on. And then your friend sends a giant explosion and you all go flying back because it's so big.
yeah,
I'm like,
alternatively, all your friends are in the same spot and start swinging and no one gets an attack off because you're just interrupting each other over and over and over.
Yeah,
and
you
over
can
and over.
interrupt each other. So you have to like, then you have to coordinate. Like, okay, whoever's gonna do the giant blast has to go do it to the tail because you're gonna blow us all up, man.
It's good.
It reminded me a lot of one of my favorite games of all time is Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast and the GameCube. And I don't feel there's like been a really, really, really great game that's tried to like capture some of that where it's like simple, but then like there's a lot more to it. And this is exactly it. This game is like, to me, it's like PSO, but not without a futuristic vibe, just so much more. Like there's so many aspects of PSO that I love so much. And this game really seems to be scratching that itch that I've had for a long time.
I want to ask, do you guys think you'll play it again when it releases for the PC?
Oh,
yes.
God, yes.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm already planning, like I'm sticking to one weapon type on this so I can use different weapon types on the PC.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll probably play through it again. Only because...
Dude, better loading times, better graphics, better, like,
man.
oh my lord, dude. It's going to be incredible. It's
and this is only vanilla.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they usually...
Like the base version of the game.
They usually, in Monster Hunter tradition, they usually, like you're saying, the base game, and then they'll release like Try You. I don't know what they're going to call this, but they release the next version of the game in a sense, and they add G rank, which is another rank above high tier, and that's when the monsters get like stupid fucking strong, like one shot you on everything that they do. And so I'm hoping that comes sooner than later, potentially with the PC release. That would be kind of a nice. Here you go. Sorry for releasing the game at a different time for a lot of people.
Well, the big motivator with G rank is that you would get new armor as well, right? Like brand new, crazier looking pieces and probably monsters that are only available in G rank, right?
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The other stuff is I hope we see monsters from previous Monster Hunter games show up. Like there's one by the name of Devil Ho, which is just like historically a fuck you monster. It's just the biggest pain in the ass to deal with, and I really want to fight him in this version of the game. There's a couple other like fan favorites that are definitely out there that pop up towards the end, which is nice. But this monster right here is my least favorite monster in the entire game, by the way, that you're fighting here, Max.
This snake guy, so you just rip him up. Well, what weapon were you using, JP?
The hammer. So a little slower.
Yeah.
And a little easier to get paralyzed when everyone's just fucking trying to do so. And you're doing
the problem with this guy is that he's got like a billion friends that hang out with him, and they bite you and they paralyze you. I switched to dual blades about halfway through my playthrough because I was primarily using gun lance, and gun lance was literally a gun blade. Like it's a giant lance with a shield, and then you can cock it, and the whole thing has a bullet that goes in.
Right.
So you're transforming your attacks and shooting, and then turning it into a sword, and then hacking them, and then transforming it again over and over. And also, it has a defensive aspect because it has a shield. I really love some of the weapons that have shields in this game. They're super fun. But
Dude,
then
the
I
lance is
wanted to try
real
something
strong.
kind of like polar opposite, and I went dual blades, and the crazy thing about dual blades is that it allows you to be mobile while doing crazy damage while being mobile and avoiding all the monster attacks.
Yeah.
So if you just they call them the murder blenders because you just ripping stuff up. It has a mode called demon mode,
Yes.
which allows you to progressively keep attacking. And as long as you keep your stamina up, you'll go into archdemon mode if you build this bar. And even without stamina, your character will still be insane.
Yep.
Those aspects are super fun. So I was playing the game a completely different way about halfway through.
Yeah, I've thought about swapping because I've put in like 55 hours of the hammer, but I don't know. I just like the giant meaty swings for like 300 damage on a head when it crits. It feels really fucking good when that happens. But alternatively, it's really shitty when it's like giant windups for an attack and the monster moves like a foot to the right and you just whiff.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck.
I would feel that those weapons, like the bigger, like the great swords and the hammers, are actually a bit more enjoyable, most likely, with multiple players because the monster's attention can go in different directions, and then you could take advantage of that. I mean, it's possible with single player, like, of course, because you've gone through the majority of the game with it.
Yeah.
But I would probably say that if you wanted to like just have like a bit of fun, to maybe go with something a bit faster if you're just starting the game and you just like, I just want to play, because you're gonna get knocked down a whole bunch. Like you have a heavy weapon, you're gonna be on the ground a lot, recovering, healing, everything like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying the longsword is a really good weapon to start off with.
That's like the samurai sword, right?
Yeah, the one that it has a cool combo that it sheaves at the end of its combo, and your weapon gets like a damage upgrade, I think is how it works. But yeah.
Longsword and charge blade
Yeah.
are like the two metas right now.
Yeah.
And switch axe I also used a lot of too. And that one's got a really fun aspect where
that's what you're using.
Yeah,
right,
dude,
Ko?
switch axe is cool, man.
Yep,
it's cool because you can keep it pressing a single button and he just keeps attacking, and then you build up again, and then you can get the elemental status and then charge it up and spit it out and just keep going. It has a little bit more mobility than the bigger weapons.
That's probably my
also
favorite
the
combo.
charge up and explode attack is freaking great, especially when you start like getting that and start getting the morph into your combos, and it's a really cool weapon. I like the uniqueness of it. That's one of the reasons I've been loving it so much.
One of the best things about the beta and early play was discovering the different things you can do when you do your special weapon, special attack close to a monster and you target certain body parts. So whether it's the tail, the legs, or the head, the majority of weapons have a unique animation where your character just jumps on this thing, sticks a foot in him, and just shoves the sword into its face. I'm like, dude, this is nuts. Yeah. And then you get a friend that's doing it to the other side of its face at the same time. So you're both there like feet up, digging into this guy's neck as you're like charging it. I did some funny ass moments.
We talked about I mentioned the multiplayer earlier. A good aspect that I have seen a lot of Twitch broadcasters taking use of or making use of is this online code where, like Gathalion, for example, he'll join up, he'll start a stream, he'll create a room, and he'll just have his online code there for all of his viewers to join in. And he cycles people in and just says, all right, first come, first serve. Whoever wants to jump in and hunt monsters with me, like, let's go. And that's
what I've been doing, yeah.
That's a nice thing to be able to do.
Oh, wait, that works?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you just want to jump in with subs and farm stuff, or anyone, really.
Oh.
So well, the big thing, Ko, is that you go to the Gathering Hub, which is the place at the top of the central hub of the game. And if you go to create online session, you can choose whether or not for it to be private, passcode, anything like that. If you just choose for it to be private, it'll give you your own code when you go to the player list in the options. It's like one of the menu items and options. So you go to player list and you see it's just you in there, but it gives you a unique like multi-digit code.
Yeah.
And if you just put that on screen, everyone can jump in, and then in the lobby you can have 16, 19 people, something like that.
16, yeah.
16. And then you can make an instance, which is, going and starting up a quest, and then 4 people can jump in there, and then you just cycle in and out. Anytime somebody puts up go ahead.
Well, they can join on you easily. Like the thing is
Yeah.
for when I wanted to do multiplayer early, but people told me that they had to be on my PlayStation's friends list because the code thing wasn't working the first day or something.
That was pre-launch.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
It
Great.
completely works now.
Yeah.
So once you get the code, if somebody even posts a quest, like anybody that's in there with you, it'll actually say, "Hey, this person just posted a quest." So you go check the quest board, and you're like, "Oh, he's doing this." Sometimes if you're lower rank, you can't get in there because you haven't had that assigned mission yet. And it's just so much better to go through the story first because it eliminates a lot of the problems.
Well, the problem is this fucking ridiculous thing that for some reason they decided to include. I guess because they don't want people to get carried through fights or something is what I've heard. But you can't join someone in a monster hunt unless they've seen the cutscene of the monster, of the mission.
Yeah.
And to set out and say, all right, I've got 4 friends, or I've got 3 other friends. We're going to play this entire game together. Get to a new mission. You all have to go your separate ways. Watch the cutscene on your own. Go all the way back to the fucking lobby and then throw up the mission itself and then join back in. Like that is just
it's weird.
It's bad. It's just bad.
It seems like a very vanilla thing that they just were unable to iron out before launch. And I would hope that maybe by the PC version they have a solution for it. Like something with the cutscene syncing up with each player is that didn't work out, so they have to wait for the cutscenes to be over before it's joinable, which is just weird.
Yeah. Keep in mind that's only for the main story missions.
There's some very weird Japanese online design mentality when it comes to the online of this game.
Some of the menus,
but in comparison to, and at least it works. So I was really happy about when I got the lobby thing working. I'm like, oh, this is actually not bad. You can just jump into a lobby and then everyone plays with each other. Okay, that's actually pretty good.
I'm totally gonna try that tomorrow. You guys sold me on it.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's great. That's excellent.
So Zeke,
I was actually I was wondering, why did you choose to play Soloco?
Well, originally it was just because it was easier. I was under the impression that as a Monster Hunter noob, I didn't want to have people join me and then I was going to be basically holding everyone back. So I told myself the first day I'm going to play solo and then I'll start playing multiplayer later. And then at that point, that's when the first day is when I got apparently some bad info because I thought the multiplayer aspect was a lot more difficult. And then I also heard like PSN went down the next day and it just looked to be kind of a mess. So, but now that, with the King Gathalion thing and the fact that I can just pop a code up there and have people join and play, that's exactly what I wanted that I didn't think was possible. So yeah, we're definitely going to start playing more multiplayer now. That's
I saw some tweets about how good the multiplayer, getting into multiplayer was. There was a few people saying why doesn't everybody fucking do it like this?
The game's technically always online if you're online. If you just are online and you open up a session, it pretty much creates your own ID that you can have either private or not private, or you can make a brand new one with friends. In terms of difficulty, it really depends. I would say to even things out and not have you be carried or carry others or anything like that. Just make it around the same rank. Just make it for and it categorizes around rank above, rank below, and you should be just fine. Because I've run into some where guys have crazy gear, and it's whoa.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy. What was that, Co?
How do you guys communicate?
In game? Oh, so you can. Well, if you're playing with friends, I was using Discord. I wasn't using in-game at all. But you can set up on the radio menu. You can set up thumbs up or a crying emoji.
I saw those little postcards.
Basic chat stuff.
Yeah, and to be honest, they work because we would finish a mission and the 3 blade users were trying to cut the tail off to get the tail to drop, and we wouldn't cut the tail off, and then everyone would just spam the crying emoji. So it kind of makes sense. And there's also a pinging function where it'll just ping on the map. And so for
cool.
A hammer user, I'm always trying to fight on the ramps because I can do the spin move, which does a lot of damage. But it's hard to get everyone to come over to the ridge for me to be able to do that. So I'll just go and sit on the ridge and sit there and ping nonstop till everyone comes over, which is kind of cool because everyone will realize that. Or if you could set up a bomb, it'll automatically post in the top right. It'll say I'm setting up a bomb. And then you'll see everyone oh shit, okay, we're going to bomb this monster, and everyone will start dropping bombs right next to him before you wake them up, etc. So it's got okay stuff. I'm mostly surprised the fact that I can play with people who seem to be Japanese, have Japanese character names and whatnot, and there's not that much lag at all. Like the fights are pretty fluid, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, I haven't run into any network issues either. I mean, I've been disconnected here and there, but in terms of like character, actually characters being one-to-one, it seems to work out pretty good.
I've had one person disconnect, and the monster literally like froze in an attack animation and just sat there for about 20 seconds. And then he came back and like started doing moves. It seemed like he took damage the entire time he was frozen. So I don't know if that's exploitable, but that's the only time I've ever had any issues with it. So, but Zeke, I feel bad because we've left you out of the conversation because you're not playing.
No, okay, listen. Don't become chat.
I'm not going to become chat. That's why I'm immediately moving on.
Because I'm not in this conversation doesn't mean I'm not engaged in listening.
Have we sold you on it at all? Are you interested in it yet?
But the thing is, like, I would like to play it with like an MMO, like you were talking about Destiny back in the day, right?
Yeah.
The reason why it was so fun is because I had kind of a solid group of three to four people that I would go with every time.
Right.
Like if I can get that reliably, that would be great. But streamers are notoriously unreliable.
That's true.
So.
That's true.
Hey Zeke, if I need to move my Persona 5 streams to the morning so we can static in the afternoons, I'll make it work.
You could. And the other
Just
thing too is Code could just literally swap weapons and he's on like your tier starting out. Like
pretty much.
You just start off with base.
Is there a
weapons.
benefit to doing that? Is there a benefit to leveling up like every weapon you have?
Yes.
Well,
and
it's
no.
not. You don't really. There's not like a skill or experience with a weapon. It's.
No, I mean like. Go ahead.
You can upgrade them. You can get different
upgrade
ones. Like there's for every single weapon in the game, and there's like 16 different weapons you can use that all have different moves and everything. But then for each one of those weapons, there's probably like, I'm going to say like 20 to 40 different trees that you can go down and upgrade and paths and stuff.
They're all element based.
So
yeah.
However,
but in terms of the moves, they're all the same.
You pick a weapon when you go into a mission. So it's not the kind of thing where you want to like level up Switchblade and level up Dual Blades. So when you run into a map, you know, you'll be able to pick which weapon to use. When you go, you pick a loadout, and then once your loadout is set, then you go into the missions. And I think you may be able to change your weapons at camp, but it's not the kind of thing where you're going to like pick two weapons and switch them on the fly and stuff like that. The people, mostly what I've been seeing is since resources are in some cases actually pretty rare.
Yes.
And each weapon type has like, for instance, if there's a monster called Rathalos, then when you go to upgrade the switch axe, there will be like basic switch axes you can make, and then all of a sudden the switch axe tree will split, and it'll split into a Rathalos version of a switch axe, and you have to farm that monster to get rare components off it. And then if you make that Rathalos switch axe, it may have an element of that type, and it may have some crazy bonus and affinity, and like it'll have all these unique things. Kind of like this, this is the armor portion of it, but the weapons kind of like have a similar thing except with more splits and trees because you're kind of working down a path. So
now,
and once you have that
like,
weapon, you're good.
You find yourself accommodating other people when I'm echoing.
It's Ghost speakers.
I'm fine here.
Accommodating other people when they need something. Like
It's probably a good question for
in some
JP or-
situations.
Yes and no. So there. Yeah. Go ahead, Max.
In some situations, you'll run into a portion where you can capture monsters or you can hunt them. I ran into a situation the other night where we were hunting a Rathalos and we needed bone marrow. I needed bone marrow for a specific weapon, and the only way to get bone marrow is not to capture. So you actually have to kill and carve.
Yeah.
So that was the focus, where it's like, well let's not capture this because that normally gives us some better rewards. You get a little bit more items if you do capture an enemy. If we carve, then we can actually get this specific thing, and you still get rewards. It's just that it's a different kind of thing. So if you're, in terms of being like accommodating towards others, it's not like a shared loot system. Whenever you win, you get your rewards, and your rewards are based on, you know, how good you did and how much of that armor, how much of that quest mission puts out.
Yeah.
And when you carve, you get like random items as well, and that's all you. So you don't split up
shared
the winnings or anything. It's all on your end.
So
okay.
And also, Zeke, to go back to the part, like I don't know if you're asking kind of like almost like classes in an MMO, like can different people fulfill different roles when you're doing multiplayer? But one thing that is kind of interesting is as you learn about monsters, there's this atlas. And in the atlas, you can find weak points and where parts come off of monsters and things like that. And different components and different weak points are affected by different types of weapons. So there's like a crushing weak point, there's a slicing weak point, and things like that. So a lot of times, if your group is balanced, then you'll have better opportunities to get better weak points exploited. Whereas opposed, like if everyone goes in with a hammer, no one's going to be doing any slashing on any weak points, and that may be a disadvantage for that team.
Right.
So
yeah, I guess the heart of my question was like picture it like a WoW boss drops like the best item for a hunter.
You have to farm it.
And you're farming that thing only for the hunter, only on behalf of the hunter.
Well, so here's an example. Here's an example of exactly what you're talking about. On Monday, I farmed a mob for 11 hours. So I'm a hammer user. Hammers can't break tails, all right?
11 hours for one mob?
It was like 40 kills, yeah. It just the item that I needed only dropped from the tail. Hammers can't break tails, but blade users can. But I think the inverse of that is that blade users need the horns, which hammers can break. So the entire time I'm focusing on the horns, and I'm hoping to God that the blade users are focusing on the tail, because if they don't, I won't get the drop. So that's why I farmed it for 11 hours and like 40 plus kills before it finally dropped.
And but you weren't online with anybody. You were
no,
just like,
I was playing with three other
soloing.
people. I was playing with 3 other people. I was SOSing, but no one could. It has a high threshold to cut the tail. And I didn't.
But you can't have somebody else cut it and then give it to you?
No, the tail just has to be cut off, but it just wouldn't get. No one was cutting it off. The monster would die too quickly.
There was a specific like lack of coordination.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was SOSing. SOSing means like you just bring in randos.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people just go chop shit up.
So
if you have a focus and you're like, hey guys, I need some help getting a tail. People are going to go in and hack the heck out of the tail, and the tail literally flies off and hits the ground.
You have to loot it.
And then as the monster runs away to its next phase, you just go and carve the tail, and then you get your random, loot drop from the tail. Like
Are you the only one that can do it?
No, everyone can.
Everybody else can do it.
Yeah.
Everybody else gets the loot. Like
they can't take it from you.
Correct.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Everyone has their own individual loot, which is great.
So that's awesome.
A smart person.
The best way of describing it is that the game absolutely does have loot boxes, but they're really big and they're angry and they don't want to give their shit up.
Yeah. A smart person would have a slashing weapon to cut off the tail themselves. But I focused on hammer the entire game, so I didn't have a slash weapon to swap to go and cut off the tail.
Oh, but you can't. Don't you get like basics of every weapon when you start?
A basic weapon compared to there's rarity, kind of like tiers. The tier system in the game is the rarity level, and the rarity level of the item that is basically needed to get the amount of sharpness. Sharpness is another utility in the game where, depending on your sharpness of your weapon will just bounce off of the armor of the monster that you're hitting. So you need blue sharpness rating to fight this monster, or rather to fight this monster effectively. And I didn't have that on the weapons.
Yeah, if I'm understanding, the choices are use the hammer and hope that somebody will chop out the tail for me.
Yes.
Or go fucking get
level up the other
shit
stuff
on my other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
In general, like you don't even really have to worry about it this much. Like if you're in a team of people that know what's going on, you're going to want to go after the tail first, because going after the tail is like one of the first things you do.
Yeah.
Like it's a weak point on most monsters.
Yeah.
What's that?
If Dark Souls has taught us anything, it's go for the tail.
Yeah, exactly.
First.
Yeah, exactly. It nerfs like a huge aspect of their attacks. Like their swinging attacks are now gone. And the best part is that through getting the tail, just like Dark Souls, you get rewards for it, and unique rewards just for chopping off the tail. But there's other breakable parts of monsters, and when you break off pieces of it, it says like the monster was the monster parts have been broken, I think is the term it uses. And then sometimes they can drop fragments. Yep. There's a little shiny thing on the ground where the monster's happening, and those are like really important too, because that's actually random monster like loot parts that you can get before you actually kill the monster. Which is super fun, because later on it gets even crazier, where you can equip mantles that give you more loot parts.
Yes.
That allow you to get more money and stuff. So
the bandit mantle or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the bandit mantle. Yeah, exactly. So there's like modifiers of modifiers. Pretty much, Zeke, don't worry about any of this stuff. When JP's like, it took me 39 hours.
Well, yeah,
to get
keep in mind,
item.
this is like the 4th to last monster, and it has like one of the best weapons for hammer users. That's why I was farming it for so long, and I'm kind of glad that like something like that isn't like, well, you kill it once, you get the weapon. Like, I'm kind of glad there's a grind to be able to get something like that. Otherwise, it'd just be like, what the fuck's the point?
When you say 4th to last monster, is that like 4th to last monster ever?
In the story revealed. You can hunt.
Oh, okay.
So the other thing with this game is HR, hunter rating, is kind of tied to quest as you progress through the story. But once you beat the game or finish the main story, hunter level or hunter rating goes fucking crazy. Like, I grouped with someone on Monday who was like hunter rating 37. And towards the end of the game, I'm like 14. Right near the end boss. So like, this guy's fucking crazy. And that goes to 999. Like, there is no quote end to the game. You can basically just keep playing as much as you want and getting whatever you want, armor wise, weapon wise, etc. So that's why people kind of say that Monster Hunter doesn't really have an ending, because you make your own ending, right? You can keep playing for whatever purposes you want and whatever you aspire to.
And one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game has honestly been like the discovery process, like going through and figuring out like where things are weak, how you utilize the environment, how you can like, you and your friends can do stuff together, like upgrading this and discovering this monster turns into this armor. Oh my God. Like your motivation for killing things multiple times. It's like the first time you fight it, it might be a pain in the ass. And then as you know what the monster does, it's like, so many things are really well telegraphed in this game where you're going to get hit by shit the first time. Like, it's just the way it's going to go. And then by the second time, you're going to jump back and you're just going to take advantage of that giant whiff animation and just beat the hell out of them.
It's a Dark Souls boss.
There's defensive options so you can actually properly block with a lot of weapons. And once you start going through this process and then the game starts teaching you and you get access to the overall progression of the game, that's where you don't even, like, hours are gone. You don't even know what's going on. Like, how long have I been doing this? Like, it becomes like a problem. Like, it's super fun.
Yeah. You really do lose track of time completely.
What was that?
It's cat armor for your cat. You get to craft armor and weapons for them as well.
You get a little cat guy that follows you around when you're offline, or you only have 2 players.
And
you can make the cat guy armor from the monsters.
The armor is great. There's some like special drops, let's say, that give your cat armor some interesting looking armor, to say the least, in both cool and like really ridiculous ways. I don't want to show or expand that stuff because, like Max said, that's part of the fun of the game. Is what does that monster's armor look like once you kill it? And
yeah, you can almost wear and use everything from every monster in the game. They have like a wearable part, if not a wearable set.
Yeah. Is that the gun lance right here that we're seeing, Max?
Yeah, this is the gun lance.
It's fucking massive. It looks ridiculous.
It's huge. It's a big heavy weapon and it explodes and shoots a lot of fire.
Yeah.
It's super fun, and I use it because not a lot of people were using it at the start, and people were like, use the gun lance, and I just started with it, and it's like not really super intermediate, but like not super common at the same time. So I just wanted to try it, and I really dig it. But if you want balls to the walls, I'm just gonna do damage and fly around. Twin blades are so good.
Yeah, the insect blade,
and then switch axe is also really fun too.
All the weapons are like, there's no like OP weapon in the sense they all have like their own thing, from what I can tell. Their own moveset, their own style of play. Like the gun lance and the lance, or the great lance, I think is the other one. The great lance can literally just sit there and like hunker down onto the ground and basically kind of absorb any like big monster attack. You don't even have to dodge in that sense. You could just sit there and fucking hunker down under your shield and you'll be okay. Whereas like the hammer or the switch axe, you have to fucking roll it out of the way at the last second or you're going to get one shot in a lot of cases. So it does also a good job of the evade process feels really good, because it'll do things like if the monster barely misses you, your guy does like a crazy leap, like he's about to live or he's about to die if he gets hit. And other times it's just like a normal roll. So that stuff feels really good. What are the two things, Zeke?
One, does the cat that follows you around, does it ever tell you to go to bed? Like go to sleep?
It does give you advice.
It does give you advice.
But does it ever make you go to sleep?
I don't think so.
Like, not your choice.
I don't think humans sleep in this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lore
That's
behind the
good.
game is that the humans are fused with the monsters and like monster blood bullshit. So you don't really sleep, I don't think.
Good. Okay. And 2, people were saying I forgot you can play as Aloy, right?
Yes.
Horizon.
Yes.
Yes.
Man,
Not yet
that-
though, right?
No, well,
What?
you can. She's not out yet. I think it comes out this week sometime. But you can get her
Yeah,
haircut.
her armor isn't out yet.
You can get her
But
haircut.
you can make the cat look like one of the little
Watchers.
raptor monsters from
Yeah.
Horizon.
Yeah, my cat was a watcher, and you get her side buzz or side braid with the hair on the other side, which I actually use on my character. So
So you can't be her yet, though.
this week you can.
She's gonna have an armor set that'll be in the game, similar to like Ryu and Sakura from Street Fighter. Like that stuff was
Yeah.
announced, but
Yeah.
it'll be in the game. It's just not there yet.
Yeah,
No, but is she in the game?
a look of her is
no.
in the game, but she is
The
not
look of
there.
her.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you
imagine
can't.
it like an armor set that lets you look like another character.
yeah.
Right, but the reason why I asked is because I saw like Mega Man in the game looked just like Mega Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the armor
Those are
looks
not
just
armor.
like
That with-
the armor looks just like Aloy's armor. And you can make her face look like Aloy, or you can make her face look like a fucking 70-year-old lady with a
You
beard.
can have 4 Aloys and
that-
4 Megamans in the same group.
But that was a cat dressed up like that, not your character.
No, so
For
the cat
the
can-
Mega Man costume, correct.
Yeah, yeah. You can look exactly like Aloy, but the game's not going to say, "Oh, this girl's from a fucking another universe. I'm Aloy."
That's
like,
what.
Yeah,
that
Aloy.
was my question. Like originally when I saw these, like.
well,
these
you could just
play-
make up
what
your
I-
own story and say, "I'm
Yeah,
actually from
Aloy
another
didn't
universe."
drop into the Monster Hunter universe. She's
No, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
When I first heard started talking about this game, I thought that it was characters were transported into this game from other game.
It's like the Kingdom Hearts hunters.
There's no story reason for Mega Man being in here except Capcom doesn't matter about shilling for their own franchises. Like,
The story isn't that good at all.
yeah, the story is like, hey
not.
guys, we got to
Don't
go
worry.
hunt some monsters. All right,
there
I
was-
guess.
Listen, okay, guys, for all you fuckers who are fail fishing in the chat, I have never played a single fucking Monster Hunter.
No, you're asking. I understand why you're
No,
asking.
I thought it was like Smash Brothers, where other characters were allowed to be in this world. And I
Problem is
said,
that Zeke's
if
idea
you
is way
remember,
better than what they got.
Yeah,
it was fucking dumb. I thought it was a bad idea.
yeah.
If you remember that, I was like,
No.
that's dumb. I don't like it. I don't want it to be like Smash Brothers.
Max.
No,
nailed
you
it.
were mad for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, don't worry about that. In terms, they're just like costumes. That's the best way to describe them. They're costumes.
Right.
Yeah, no
that
one
make you just
ever
look
said the
exactly
word-
like them.
Yeah, no one ever said the word costume or skin or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would have picked up on that if someone would have told me, "Oh no, it's just a skin. You're not actually the person."
I am curious though, because in that trailer or whatever they put out for Ryu and Sakura, Ryu has like a fucking Hadoken.
Special moves.
So like,
You can Shinku Hadouken like the legs of monsters and it trips them. I'm like, what?
if that's
Like,
actually
and Ryu's
not-
got a gun.
yeah, like, I hope that's actually how it is, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It would be kind of fucking absurd.
mean, I just-
if you're farming monsters
There-
and Ryu just comes out of nowhere with a fucking giant. to get me,
Exactly.
Like,
Like I'm wondering, like, if you get 4 Ryus, does he get weird costumes from the old Street Fighter games? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? There was in the other Monster Hunters, like I think it was the 3DS one. You can get a Strider Hiryu costume, which is the cool Capcom ninja guy and like one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
You can get his costume for male and female hunters, and you got like a slight variation. I hope stuff like that comes back, man. That stuff is cool.
a lot of people are saying they're just gestures and they're $5 each. So yikes, that's kind of pricey, but it makes sense. They got to
Yeah, the gestures are hilarious. Like you could buy gestures for like $2 a pop, like lobby gestures. I'm like, man, I'm really glad this doesn't affect gameplay.
Yeah,
And that's like the DLC of the game right now is like gestures.
Well,
I'm like, oh, I think I'm good.
I'm happy that they're not charging for the monsters. Like the fact that all that's free and it's just going to be able to, if you have an internet connection, you can get these monsters as they're added to the game is great. It'll help the
Yeah, I
longevity of
think
the game.
I think the thing I want the most, like the monsters are amazing, and putting more monsters inside the zones is great. I think I really want more zones, and I think that'll probably be what is a part of like expansion DLC. is proper zones. Like,
how many do you
the
have
free
unlocked?
stuff will most likely be monsters. They stick into existing zones.
Yeah.
And then when, like, you know, Monster Hunter EX Tri-Frontier Edition comes out, there's probably going to be like an updated expansion like in a year and a half from now. I'm just spitballing.
Right.
That'll have 3 more zones or something like that, like a snow zone, a space zone. Like,
Well,
like
yeah.
they can go wherever the heck they want to with this.
Historically, Monster Hunters have always had a like an ice zone, because there's
Yeah.
two types of, there's warm drinks and there's cool drinks, and like depending on if you're in a lava area or, you know, an ice area, you have to drink those so you don't take stamina damage or heat damage in that sense, just throughout the entire mission. So you'll probably get an ice level eventually, I would think.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't know. I'm happy with the number that are currently in the game right now, just because, I don't know. There's the levels are varied enough that Ko was kind of talking about, where you can, and you were also saying, Max, you just walk around and discover shit. Like,
Just discover shit. Yeah.
60
And
hours in,
it's
I'm
so
still
cool,
finding
like,
different camps that I never found on like the base level.
The there's a great little nod at the bottom of the what's it called? Not the waste, but the death pit, like the elephant graveyard. If you
Rotten
go
Vale.
all the way down to the
Yeah.
bottom,
Rotten
you
Vale.
can see, yeah, the Rotten Vale. All the way down at the bottom where a cutscene normally happens. If you go back down there and visit and start looking at the environment around, you realize you're in the jaw of what looks to be like another Zora Magrados that died down there. So you're like, whoa, story stuff. This is kind of cool.
I'm trying to see if I can. I don't know if you went down there in this FUD.
To the Vale, I'm not too sure. This is when I
This
was
is
playing
Coral, yeah.
with my wife, and we just didn't stop. This was like a 10-hour session, and it felt like 2.
Yeah.
It's just it is. This game does not have a nice consideration of
Your time.
of people.
Personal health.
Like, if you had
Well,
no time
Someone.
and you didn't have to do anything, it'd be great. But if you're like a human, then it's not nice.
Yeah, someone in chat made a perfect or mentioned something the other day that I thought was hilarious. In the handheld versions of this, the game would constantly say like, "Hey, remember to take breaks." There is not a single fucking mention throughout this entire console game to do that, and it's hilarious to me because I rarely ever. I would go like just like you, 13, 14-hour days of just nonstop Monster Hunter, and I've seen so many different broadcasters say the exact same thing. Like, didn't take a lunch break today, played for 11 hours straight. I'm going to sleep and I'm going to do it all again tomorrow. Like, so many people have said
I'm
that.
like 4 days. I'm 3 days in a row of streaming the game, and each stream has been 9 to 10 hours. And all I want to do is just keep going.
Yep.
Like, all I want to do is just keep looking for the next one. And like, Dissidia just came out, and Dragon Ball. I've had like only a couple days of Dragon Ball, and I need to get back into that really bad because it's Dragon Ball and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then Dissidia just dropped, so I'm like, this juggling act is ridiculous right now.
The crazy thing is it's, January 31st. We're only like 31 days into this goddamn year.
We're 30 days into the year.
There's this much stuff to play. Hopefully it's like last year where there was just way too much stuff to play all year long. So, Ko or Max, any final thoughts on Monster Hunter before we jump to a break? We'll come back, talk Dragon Ball, like you just said, probably some indie games from Zeke because he's been playing Celeste, but I want to put a cap on the Monster Hunter combo.
Ko, you want to go ahead?
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of me and nothing that hasn't been said already, and having a huge amount of fun with it, I'm very interested to know what Zeke's gonna. I guess he's over there. What he's gonna think about it when he tries it. So that'll be a fun conversation. But yeah, man, it's a great game. It surpassed my expectations. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. Max, what about you? Any final thoughts?
I'd say in terms of like Capcom products, because I'm a really big Capcom fan, and this company has had a very interesting last 10 years to say the least, in terms of really funky decision making, and then some diamonds in the rough, and then some really good stuff, and then some really bad stuff. It's like, what is going on? This is one of the really good ones. This is like a high quality Capcom product that is AAA and feels extremely polished. Like, this is their flagship game. Like, you think it's Resident Evil, you think it's like something else, Street Fighter. No, like, and honestly, Capcom's flagship game is Monster Hunter. Like, the son of the CEO of the company, this is his like Tsujimoto, his son, directs like these games. Like he's like the main producer or something. So you can feel that a lot of the experience of Capcom over the past several years in terms of combat, in terms of art and world exploration, like I wish other games in the Capcom library kind of got this attention like Marvel Infinite. But I understand because this game is like guaranteed to reach audiences that they wanted it to reach that it never could before when it was on PSP, because the game was just so designed in a very archaic way over the past like 15 years. And now all that's changed. So when they were previously saying, we can never have, not have loading zones in between, all of our maps. There has to be loading zones. The game is designed that way. We'd have to redesign the game completely to make it accommodating to that, like a new zone. And they actually did it. They made a whole new game around it. And that whole new game is something that is way easier to consume as a player. It's way prettier, and it has an aesthetic that is just way nicer than the other Monster Hunters. And for someone that has never really been into Monster Hunter before and briefly tried the PS2 version of the game and was just like, woof, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this, man. There's just too many cumbersome elements. Yeah. They take out a lot of the BS. And if you think this one has BS, like there's insane BS in the other games that you have to deal with. So I think it's something special. Like this game is, I really like it.
Yeah. I think it'll definitely end up on the game of the year showed towards the end of the year.
One final thing someone pointed out in my chat to mention to Zeke because they think he'd really like it, and I actually agree. One thing that's absolutely awesome about this game is the monsters. It's not monsters versus players. That's not how it works. It's an actual ecosystem. So a lot of times you'll be running along fighting a monster, and then all of a sudden you're focused on it. You're doing it, and then all of a sudden you hear this rumbling, and a different monster will just launch itself onto your screen. And every so often, they'll have a custom animation of interaction. And you might see him grab the neck of the bigger monster and wrestle him to the ground and start chewing on him.
It's called turf war.
The other guy might like, throw him off and then jump on him and completely start ignoring you. It is incredibly visceral and cool when they start fighting each other.
It's really
like
the best part of
like the T-Rex and the Velociraptors?
Exactly. It's exactly like,
Dude,
a monster will grab someone and just fucking do this.
I was fighting a monster. I don't remember which one, but that one that JP said he hated earlier, the one that looks like a snake.
Yeah.
I'm fighting this monster with some kind of longer neck. And all of a sudden that guy just slithers himself right by me, rears his head back, and just grabs onto the neck of the monster I'm fighting, flips him onto his back, and then lets go and starts munching on his stomach. Cool. I just stopped and watched. I was like, "Oh, you go ahead."
You let turf wars happen. It's like it's a moment where everyone stops and you're just like, "Let them fight."
Yep.
Let them fight. Yeah. And then they're doing damage. They're taking life off. Like another example on my end is when you're in the first level, the Ancient Forest. There's a big flying monster that you don't usually get to fight early on that you just see, and you're just like, "Oh, that's cool." And then you fight a big T-Rex monster that roams around. A couple phases into the T-Rex monster, after chasing him down, he runs into the nest of the big flying monster. So as you're fighting him, you're like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, camera focuses in on this big dot in the sky that's getting brighter, and it flies in, and this giant dragon thing is like, get out of my nest. And then it swoops in, knocks down the T-Rex, and you're just like, okay, we got to get the hell out of here. You jump from a distance, it grabs it with its talons, picks it up, chucks it off the mountain.
Yeah.
And the T-Rex, which is your target, is now way down there, and you have to jump off the mountain to go down and get it, and with a huge jumping animation. I'm like, okay, yeah, this game is pretty great.
Those are the best
And just
parts,
to add to the badassery, keep in mind when you jump off to go down to the T-Rex, you're flying through the air, you hit attack, and all of a sudden your guy's doing this. Oh! As he's like
from
pounding
like 30
down.
stories up.
Those are the best hits. They don't do very much damage, but man, they feel so fucking sick when you just land it.
30 stories up plunging attack is pretty amazing.
It's the best, yeah. There's an optional mission where you fight the two dragons from the first area, the Rathalos and the Rathian, at the same time. And I was fighting them in the forest area, and the T-Rex guy you guys just mentioned joined the fight, and the two of them ganged up on the T-Rex and like grabbed him by the neck.
That happened to me too.
And just fucking started tossing him around. And I'm over in like a goddamn bush, just kind of hunkered down, like, please don't come over here. I don't want to fight 3 of you at the same time. I'm just gonna wait for this to end. So that stuff's not scripted. It's just dynamic. It just happens.
Yeah,
every once in a while.
this isn't really stuff we're spoiling because again, there's like tons and tons of these interactions.
Yeah,
like they're all over the place, and you'll fight monsters like 10 plus times and never see some of these. But I will say this: the last interaction I'll say that really blew me away is with that big T-Rex guy, and I've seen this on a couple others. What'll happen is these guys will like a lot of times eat the things around them. So if you come up on a T-Rex and you don't engage it, like you'll watch him walk over to like a smaller dinosaur and eat him, right? Well, what's crazy awesome is then you'll go in and start fighting that T-Rex. It's a long and epic fight. And one of the last things a monster will do is it'll start hobbling and it'll usually try to run. What's incredible is when you do it, like when you're fighting a T-Rex, it starts hobbling away. If the creatures it was eating were carnivores, then all of a sudden you'll see these little dinosaurs start swarming the big one and trying to take him down with you. So they're like, now's our chance. And they'll like run over and start jumping on his back and gnawing on his neck. And you'll see him like bite his toes and shit. So you're sitting there fighting and like also hitting all these little tiny monsters that are also now trying to eat the big daddy. It's ridiculous, man.
And if a monster is near death or bleeding, like vultures show up and then they're just waiting for the monster to die. They're just used to like hunters just killing shit. So like vultures show up and just start like, there's so many little elements like that make it feel so good.
Sometimes I feel really bad.
Every time one of those happens, man, it just, those little things are what makes a good game a great game.
Yeah.
Like when you see those little things that just make you completely unexpected stuff, where you're just like, that's awesome. Like that's and there's so much of that in this game. It's pretty wild.
You mentioned the mob's limp. Sometimes when I go back and do like a tier 3 and I'm in like tier 8, I feel really bad when the monster's like fucking hobbling along and I'm sitting with my goddamn hammer just chasing him. Like, I don't want to do this. This is so fucked up, man. This guy has no chance whatsoever. And then you
gotta bring more trank bombs, JP. Capture those guys.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah, but then it's even worse because you put them in captivity and you kill them in captivity. So
it might be an even worse fate for if you capture them, which is funny.
Yeah. Anyways, that's Monster Hunter. We'll definitely talk about it next week. Zeke, are you gonna pick it up, play it offline? Where are you at right now?
I'm still on the fence. I mean, everything about it sounds really, really cool, but there is that inkling feeling inside me that says like, this is gonna be like your offline game.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like grind offline, do this.
It can be both. That's the beautiful part of it. Stream it when you want to, play it offline when you want to. It's not like there's a lot of story, and not that everyone already hasn't seen. It's just I played offline and online. It doesn't matter. Like there's nothing your guys are gonna miss. So yeah.
Maybe I'll give it I'll do one day on cast and see, like, just feel it out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And seriously, dude, if you want a partner for it, just let me know. I'd be happy to play with you.
Is that akin to someone being like, I'm gonna try heroin just one time. I just want to see.
It might be with this game. It definitely might be.
Might be. Okay.
Dude, the first time you preview an armor set that really looks badass, and you're just like, wait, I can wear that?
Yeah.
What do I gotta kill to get that?
Yeah.
What part do I need for this?
11 hours later, it finally drops. Yeah, that's right. Just don't. I'm worried that Zeke might get too addicted. That's all I'll say. So be careful. Be careful.
Let's go to break. I gotta go potty.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll talk indie games. Zeke played Celeste, which I really want to talk about, and then of course the fighting games as well. Max, we could talk Soul Calibur, right? That's a go.
Yeah, Soul Calibur and Dragon Ball and stuff.
Okay, cool. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with part 2 here of Drop Frames, episode whatever the fuck this is, 136. We'll see
2815.
2815. There you go. All right, see you in just a bit.